Emma Carter didn't usually notice the abandoned Jeep that sat like a skeleton at the edge of the lot. It had been there since before she started working at Mariuki Motors, rusted, tireless, with its windows smashed and frame warped like it had taken a tumble down a cliff. Nobody had claimed it, nobody cared. But that morning, something was different. She had just arrived, keys still dangling from her fingers. When she heard it, a sharp metallic rattle. Not from the workshop, from the wreck. Emma paused, scanning the yard. The other mechanics weren't in yet. The sun was barely over the horizon, and the morning mist clung to the brush. She tightened her ponytail, instincts prickling. The sound came again. Not wind, not birds, not something shifting in the heat. It was a thud, like something kicking, followed by a high, strained whine. Something was alive in there. Emma approached the Jeep slowly, boots crunching over gravel. She leaned down and peeked through the busted grill. Nothing. She moved to the front, where the hood was half-latched. The sound came again, muffled, desperate. Her fingers wrapped around the cold edge of the metal. It groaned as she pried it open. Then everything stopped, wedged deep in the engine bay, surrounded by coils and rusted parts, was a lion cub. It didn't move at first, just stared up at her with wide, amber eyes rimmed in panic. Its ribs were sharp under its skin, fur matted with grease. One paw twitched, then a soft, trembling growl escaped its throat. Not aggressive, just scared. Emma froze. Her body screamed at her to back up. But she didn't. "Jesus," she whispered. "What the hell are you doing in there?" The cub blinked. Emma glanced around. This was Kenya. Sure, wildlife wasn't unusual, but this, a lion cub hiding in a junked engine. She stepped back, chest tight, trying to think. The cub wasn't big enough to be a threat. Not yet. But it was wild, dangerous, and probably dying of thirst. She walked briskly back to the shop, pulled a plastic water bottle from her bag, and grabbed the leftover goat meat from last night's dinner. Still in foil. "Don't be stupid," she muttered to herself as she walked back. "This is insane." When she returned, the cub hadn't moved, just followed her with its eyes. Emma crouched, unscrewed the bottle cap, and poured some water into the foil. She slid it slowly toward the engine bay, letting it rest near the edge. The cub sniffed, then licked its lips. It took several minutes before it shifted. Carefully, awkwardly, it stretched its neck and began to drink, never taking its eyes off her. Emma let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Okay," she said, "you're not trying to eat me. That's a start." She unfolded the foil-wrapped meat and tore off a strip. The smell hit the air like a flare. The cub's ears perked up. Emma tossed the meat gently into the bay. The cub pounced, clumsily, and devoured it. "Damn," she said, "you're starving." She watched as it gnawed the scraps, a knot of concern twisting in her gut. This was no regular encounter. This wasn't some animal passing through. It had been in there a while. Days, maybe longer. But why? She looked around. The area was bordered by acacia scrubland, but not exactly deep bush. Lions didn't wander here, not unless something was wrong. Emma stood up and rubbed her neck. This wasn't something she could ignore. By noon, the others had arrived, the shop alive with grinding tools and shouted orders. Emma kept her head down, working through oil changes and diagnostics. But her mind was with the cub. She hadn't told anyone. What would she even say? "Hey, I found a baby lion in a wreck outside." That would trigger a whole mess. Rangers. Animal control. Questions. It might spook the cub or worse. No, she'd wait. Watch. See if its mother showed up. See if it left. That night, when the yard emptied out and the sky turned orange, Emma walked back to the jeep. The cub was still there. Curled now, its belly slightly fuller, but still wary. "Hey," she said softly, crouching again, still hanging in. She pushed another foil packet forward. The cub lifted its head, sniffed, and began eating. She noticed then, barely, a cut along its flank. Not deep, but fresh, claw marks. Emma frowned. Something had driven it here. Maybe it had gotten separated from its pride. Or chased. "You're not just lost, are you?" She sat on an overturned bucket, watching the cub eat in silence. The air was quiet, filled only with the sound of insects and distant traffic from the highway. The city was far, but the world still pressed in from all sides. And here, in this forgotten corner of metal and rust, a strange little creature had made its last stand. Emma knew she couldn't leave it there. Not for long. The next day, she called in sick. She spent the morning gathering supplies, a shallow dish, more food, gauze, antiseptic. Then she returned to the yard and set up a little station beside the jeep. The cub had moved slightly. It was still weak, but no longer frozen with fear. When Emma appeared, it gave a low, scratchy sound. Not a growl. Almost a meow. "Leo," she said, "that's what I'm calling you." She didn't know why the name came. It just fit. Emma spent the day near him, keeping her movements slow. She spoke softly, let him get used to her presence. When she changed the water dish, he didn't flinch. When she slid in a piece of raw liver, he took it without hesitation. By sunset, he let her touch him. Just barely, a hand against his flank. Gentle, careful, she felt the tremble in his muscles. The fragile line between trust and instinct. "You're tougher than you look," she murmured. 3 days passed. Emma knew this couldn't last. Leo was growing stronger. His appetite had returned. He was still small, maybe 2 or 3 months old, but gaining energy. And soon, someone would notice. Or worse, he'd wander off and get killed. Emma sat in her small kitchen, staring at her phone. The number for the local wildlife conservancy was there. She hovered her thumb over the dial button. Then she put the phone down. Just one more day, she thought, one more day to figure it out. Out in the yard, under the stars, Leo curled in a nest of old blankets she'd laid out for him. His body rising and falling in a steady rhythm. He was safe, for now, but Emma knew, nothing about this was normal. And whatever had brought him to her was just the beginning. By the 4th morning, Leo had started to stand on his own. He still stumbled, still blinked at the daylight like it was foreign. But there was energy in his legs now, tension in his muscles that hadn't been there before. Emma watched from a few feet away as he lapped water, then turned to gnaw a strip of meat with sharp little teeth. It was time. She slipped her phone from her back pocket and scrolled to the name she had saved 2 years ago but never used. Dr. Raj Patel. Veterinarian. Wildlife conservationist. Exasperatingly precise. Also, a good man. Emma hadn't spoken to him since the workshop fundraiser, when they'd clashed over whether mechanics could coexist with the migration corridor pushing into the edge of town. But now wasn't the time for grudges. She pressed call. Raj arrived just after noon. The sun was high, and his khaki shirt was already soaked with sweat when he stepped out of the battered Land Cruiser. He carried a canvas medical bag and wore mirrored sunglasses that reflected the yard like a still pool. Emma met him halfway. "You said it was urgent," he said without greeting. "It is." She motioned toward the rusted Jeep. When he saw the cub, his jaw tightened. "Holy, I found him 4 days ago," she interrupted. "Inside the engine. Been feeding him, watching him. He's gaining strength." Raj crouched near the vehicle, scanning Leo carefully. He didn't approach. Not yet. Just observed. "Do you know what this is?" he asked finally. "A lion," Emma said flatly. Raj turned, face hard. "That's not just any lion. His markings. See that pale patch on the nose? That's a Kajani cub. Extremely rare. There are maybe a dozen of them in the Amboseli region. I thought they were all accounted for." Emma's heart beat faster. "So he's tagged?" Raj nodded slowly. "Was. Probably lost the tag when the collar came off. We think his pride was caught in the Old Dari fire 2 weeks ago." Emma winced. She remembered the smoke, the charred wind. "He got separated. Or worse," Raj said. "You're lucky he didn't bite you." "He's not aggressive," she said, "just scared." Raj looked at her then, studied her. Like he was recalibrating something. "You did good, keeping him alive. But now it's time to move him. Safely." Emma shook her head. "Not yet. Emma. There's something else," she said. She led him to the edge of the lot, where the fence had a clear line of sight into the hills. She pointed to a patch of dry scrub and rust-colored rock. "A man's been watching the yard," she said. "Not one of ours. Shows up near dusk. Doesn't come close. Just stands there with binoculars." Raj's expression darkened. "Poachers? That's what I think." Raj cursed under his breath. "This area's supposed to be outside the hotspots." "Yeah, well, they're not playing by the map." He was silent for a long moment. Then, "Do you know who?" "No name. Just a tall guy. Wears a dark cap. He's not subtle." Raj exhaled sharply and finally approached Leo. The cub tensed but didn't flee. The vet moved slowly, professionally, reaching out with a gentle hand, pressing along Leo's ribs. "He's healing. Not fully, but better than I expected." "You gave him real food?" Emma nodded. "Meat. Fresh. Water twice a day. I cleaned a wound on his side. Looked like a scrape or claw." Raj nodded without looking up. "It was a claw. Big one. Probably another lion. Or a hyena. He was lucky." He stood and rubbed his face. If these poachers know what he is, they'll do anything to get him. The Kajani line, worth thousands. They don't care about the law. If they get him, he's dead, or worse, sold into one of those private game pens where he'll be trophy bait. Emma's jaw clenched. Then we don't let them. Raj looked at her. You want to keep hiding him? For now. That's reckless. It's calculated, she said. They haven't gotten close. I've got eyes on the yard. If we try to move him now, and they're watching, we lead 'em right to him. Raj paused. Then we do it at night. I have contacts. I can get a ranger escort. Emma shook her head. Too risky. We wait until I'm sure they're gone. Let Leo get stronger. Raj hesitated, then nodded, reluctantly. 2 days. No more. I'll prep a transport crate and arrange the safe zone at the conservancy. Emma exhaled. Thank you. As he turned to leave, she caught his arm. Raj, if anything happens, if they come, I'm not running. He looked at her. Don't be a hero. I'm not. Just not letting a bunch of cowards with rifles decide how this ends. That evening, the man returned. Emma watched from the shadows of the garage. Binoculars trained. He stood in the same place. Still, waiting. His name was Jonas. She didn't know that yet. But he'd been paid in cash by a collector who wanted something unusual. The Kajani cub had been tracked through ash and rumor. A ghost among charred grass. Jonas was methodical, ex-military. He knew how to wait. But he didn't know Emma. She moved the jeep closer to the garage that night, backing it slowly with a winch until it rested half hidden behind spare tires and oil drums. Then she draped the entrance in a tarp and lined it with sandbags. Inside, Leo slept curled on an old jacket. His breathing steady. She rigged a motion sensor to the fence and a silent alarm to her phone. Then she waited. The next night, the alarm went off. It was 2:43 a.m. Emma jolted awake, grabbed the flashlight. Quiet steps. Out the back door. She crouched low near the fence line. There he was. Jonas. Inside the perimeter now. Moving slow, careful, holding a tranquilizer rifle. Her breath caught. She pulled her phone, called Raj. Pick up. Come on. He answered on the third ring. Emma? He's in the yard. I'm on my way. 10 minutes. She hung up, counted seconds. Jonas moved toward the garage. Eyes scanning. She moved behind the crates. Heart hammering. A metal rod clanged somewhere. Leo stirred. She heard the faint whimper. Jonas froze. He stepped closer, lifted the rifle. Emma rose from behind the crates with a wrench in hand. Back off. Jonas spun, startled. Lady, you don't want to do this. You're not taking him. His finger twitched on the trigger. It's just a lion. No, Emma said. It's a life. They stared at each other. Then, from the road, headlights, tires, voices. Raj, rangers. Jonas turned and bolted, slipping through the fence before the lights reached him. Emma stood frozen, wrench still raised. Raj ran to her. You okay? She nodded. Barely. They moved Leo within the hour. By dawn, the cub was en route to the Amboseli sanctuary. Wrapped in canvas, breathing steady under sedation. Emma stood beside the truck as it pulled away, dust rising behind it. Raj stood next to her. "He'll be safe now," he said. Emma didn't reply, just watched the horizon. Behind her, the yard was quiet, but in her chest, something had changed. A secret had passed through her hands, wild, fragile, alive. And though it was gone, part of it remained. She turned to Raj. "What's next?" He gave a small smile. "That depends. You ever think about joining the field team?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "Me? I fix cars. You saved a lion." She smiled. "Maybe." They stood in silence as the sun climbed higher. The wasteland was full of stories. And some secrets, once kept, never truly leave. The heat was still clinging to the workshop walls long after sundown. Emma stood under the single working floodlight, staring at the dented transport crate. Leo paced in circles inside, agitated, ears flicking at every metallic echo. He was bigger now, stronger, and louder. "Not helping, buddy," Emma muttered. Dr. Raj Patel stood nearby, cross-checking a map spread across the hood of the old Isuzu pickup they'd salvaged for the trip. The truck looked like it hadn't run in years. Because it hadn't. But Emma had spent the last 2 days nursing it back to life. New battery, cleaned lines, a second-hand fuel pump she'd bartered for with a bottle of whiskey and a set of brake pads. "We'll cut through the dry riverbed past Nanuki," Raj said, marking a line with a red pen. "Avoid the main roads. Too visible. Terrain's rough there," Emma warned. "You'll have to ride shotgun and hold the map." "I can manage." "Can you manage a rifle too?" Raj paused. "You think he'll try again?" "I know he will," she said. "He's not just in it for the bounty anymore. He's watching us, waiting." Jonas had gone quiet after the failed break-in. No sightings, no noise, which made it worse. Emma had a gut feeling he wasn't gone. He was planning, calculating. The drive to the Amboseli sanctuary was usually under 5 hours. But they weren't taking usual roads. They had to stay off-grid, out of view, which meant a longer route. At night, through terrain meant for goats and ghosts. Raj glanced at Leo. "How's he holding up?" Emma looked toward the cub, now crouched in the crate. Eyes narrowed but alert. "He knows something's off," she said. "They always know." They left at 1:18 a.m. The sky was dark but clear, stars sprawling over the savannah like pinpricks in velvet. Emma drove. Raj sat beside her with the map and a walkie-talkie. Leo, wrapped in blankets and tucked into the hidden compartment under the bench seat, barely made a sound. The truck groaned but held together. Every bump made something rattle. Every gear shift was a prayer. "We make it to the riverbed in 2 hours," Raj said. "No lights, no stops." Emma nodded, hands tight on the wheel. The road narrowed quickly, turning to cracked gravel and then to dust. Bushes reached out with twisted arms. Insects battered the windshield. Far ahead, hyena cries echoed like laughter. Then, around 3:04 a.m., everything fell apart. The ambush came fast. A burst of light from the tree line. Headlights. 2 motorbikes and a jeep roared onto the path, cutting off their exit. Emma slammed the brakes. Dust exploded around them. "Out!" she barked. Raj scrambled from the passenger side. Rifle in hand, Jonas stepped into view. Calm as ever, he held his tranquilizer rifle low. But his stance was unmistakable. "You should have run when you had the chance," he called. "We did," Emma shot back. "You just wouldn't stay gone. You're transporting protected wildlife without proper clearance. That's a crime." Emma barked a laugh. "Since when do poachers care about paperwork?" Jonas smiled. "You know what he's worth." "I don't care." "Well, I do." He motioned, and one of the bikers moved forward. Raj raised his rifle. "Don't." Jonas hesitated. "You want to die for a lion cub?" "No," Raj said, "but I'm willing to kill for one." Jonas narrowed his eyes. Then, from the truck, movement. A small growl. Emma's head whipped around. Leo. He had pushed the panel aside. His golden eyes gleamed from under the bench. Raj turned, panicked. "He's out." Jonas heard it too. He moved. But Emma was faster. She threw the door open, grabbed the shotgun from the truck's floor, and fired into the air. The sound shattered the silence. The bikers flinched. Jonas ducked. Raj dragged Leo out from under the bench, clutching him to his chest, and bolted toward the rear fence line, barbed wire and brush beyond. "Go!" Emma shouted. She aimed the shotgun again, not to hit, just to buy seconds. Jonas cursed and dove behind the jeep. Emma turned, leapt into the driver's seat, and punched the ignition. The truck roared, tires spitting sand. She yanked the wheel, grinding into reverse. Raj threw open the rear door. Leo tumbled in. Then Raj followed, slamming it shut. "Drive!" he yelled. Emma did. They tore through the scrub at 60 km/h. Engine howling, headlights off, no GPS, just instinct and speed. Behind them, the hunters gave chase. The jeep's engine growled. The bikes split off, cutting paths through the trees. "They're flanking us," Raj shouted. "Then hold on." Emma jerked the wheel left, aiming for a shallow ravine. The truck bounced. Metal screamed. Leo gave a startled roar. But the terrain slowed the pursuers. The bikes struggled over rock and root. Emma pushed forward, lungs burning. By sunrise, they were 20 kilometers from the conservancy. The land had shifted to low golden grass and scattered trees. Emma stopped the truck just over a ridge. Everyone was silent. Dust hung in the air. She turned to Raj. "Still with me?" He nodded, eyes wide. Leo panted between them, wild but unhurt. "We can't take the main gate," Raj said. "If they're following, it's a trap." Emma pointed south. "There's a service road near the hill. You said there was a back entrance." Raj nodded. "A mile east, unmarked." They started the engine again. 10 minutes later, the truck pulled through the hidden gate of the Amboseli Wildlife Sanctuary. A guard waved him through. Behind the fences, trees thickened, and birds filled the air with sound. They made it. Raj guided the truck to the holding facility, low stone walls, shaded pens, clean water troughs. A team was waiting with gloves and stretchers. Leo was lifted carefully. swaddled and calm. Emma stepped out, blinking in the early light. Jonas hadn't followed them in. He'd lost them in the scramble. For now, Raj came to her side. "He's safe." Emma nodded, but her shoulders were still tense. "What about Jonas?" "We'll report it. But people like him don't disappear. They relocate." Emma looked at the gate. "Then I'll be ready." Raj smiled faintly. "You should consider staying on. Sanctuary needs hands like yours." She watched as Leo was carried through the gates, the cub twisting to look back at her. She walked over, knelt down, and met his gaze one last time. "You're home now," she whispered, and for the first time in days, she allowed herself to breathe. The wind tore across the open land, kicking up dust in low, angry spirals. Emma wiped her brow with a greasy sleeve and ducked under the truck's engine bay, hands searching for the busted fuel line. "Tell me it's minor," Raj called from the passenger side. Emma didn't answer immediately. Her fingers worked fast, tracing the crack in the tubing, sealing it temporarily with a strip of rubber and a clamp from her tool roll. She slid out from under the chassis and sat up, sweat streaking her face. "It's patched, but not for long." They were deep in the wilderness now, a flat stretch of rocky scrubland that rolled toward the distant Ingong Hills. Cell service had died an hour ago. The sun was rising hard and fast. Leo lay in the back, panting in the rising heat. He was restless now, no longer the weak cub they'd first found. His limbs had strength. His voice carried power. He wanted out. "We've got maybe 30 minutes before this fix gives," Emma said. "We need to move." Raj nodded grimly. "I'll try the satphone again." He stepped away, lifting the antenna toward the sky. That's when Emma heard it. A low, far-off rumble, faint, but distinct. She turned sharply, scanning the horizon. Dust. 3 dots coming fast. Bikes. "Oh no," she muttered. Raj turned too, eyes narrowing. "You've got to be kidding me. They found us." Emma leapt to the cab, slammed the hood shut, and jumped into the driver's seat. "Can it hold?" Raj asked, climbing in. "Long enough to run." The truck roared back to life, sputtering at first, then catching its breath. Emma slammed it into gear, and they sped off, tires clawing at the dirt. Behind them, Jonas led the charge, his rifle strapped to his back, eyes locked on the dust trail ahead. 2 other bikers flanked him, weaving through rocks like sharks in open water. "Where's that chopper, Raj?" Emma snapped. He held the satellite phone to his ear. "Still trying. Hold 'em off." The chase ripped through the dryland like a storm. Emma twisted the wheel, dodging thorn bushes and jagged stone. The truck bounced violently, every jolt a gamble with the patched fuel line. Leo growled from the back, thrown with each swerve. "They're gaining," Raj shouted. "They're not slowing down." Emma cursed and jerked left, diving the truck into a shallow wadi. Dust swallowed them, but it gave a few seconds of cover. Jonas pressed harder. He knew this ground, knew the weight of a prize slipping from his hands. He veered down into the trench, pushing his bike to the edge of control. The other 2 bikers stayed higher, circling like vultures above. "They're trying to trap us," Raj yelled. Not if I flip the board, Emma growled. She spun the wheel hard, powering up the far side of the trench, flinging the truck back onto open ground. One biker tried to cut him off, too slow. Emma clipped his front tire, sent him flying. Down to 2, she muttered. Leo snarled behind her, body pressed low against the floor. Raj raised the phone again, voice tight. "This is Dr. Patel. We need air support immediately. Coordinates incoming." A crack rang out. Gunshot. The rear windshield exploded. Emma ducked instinctively, glass raining around her. Leo roared in panic. "Jonas has a rifle." "I know," she shouted, swerving to keep the cab angled away. Raj dropped the phone to his lap, one hand reaching for the old bolt-action rifle between his legs. Emma spun into a dried riverbed, the truck landing with a spine-jarring crash. The engine screamed. The patched fuel line hissed. 5 more minutes. Emma whispered to the truck like it was a prayer. Behind them, Jonas pushed harder, leveling the rifle as he closed the gap. Raj leaned out the window and fired a warning shot. The bullet cracked across the air, missing but making Jonas duck. Then, a sound like thunder overhead. Rotor blades. "A helicopter!" Raj shouted. "They found us." The green and white chopper of the Kenya Wildlife Service crested the ridge. Banking low, its doors opened, and 2 rangers aimed down with rifles. A voice blared through the loudspeaker. "Drop your weapons and stand down." Jonas skidded his bike sideways, braking hard. The second biker panicked, veered, lost traction, and crashed into the brush. Emma didn't stop. She powered forward another few hundred meters, then jerked the wheel and brought the truck to a halt. Raj jumped out first, hands raised. The chopper circled once and then descended fast. Dust blasted outward as it landed. 2 rangers hit the ground running, weapons up. Jonas didn't move. He stared at the truck, hands still on the bike handles. Then he did something Emma didn't expect. He smiled and drove away. The rangers shouted, but he was gone in seconds, swallowed by the terrain. Leo was carried gently into the chopper by a ranger with thick gloves. He hissed but didn't resist. The cub had been through enough. Emma sat in the dust beside the truck, chest heaving. Raj crouched beside her. "You all right?" She looked up at him, eyes tired but sharp. "Remind me to stop agreeing to road trips with you." He grinned. "You did great." The rangers came over. One knelt beside her. "You saved something rare." "You both did." Emma nodded. "Yeah, now it's time to make sure it stays that way." They flew the rest of the way. From above, the land looked endless, quiet, beautiful, brutal. Leo curled between Emma and Raj on the floor of the chopper. His breathing was steady now. Safe. And beneath them, somewhere far below, Jonas disappeared into the wild, defeated. But not gone. The fight wasn't over. But for now, the cub was free. The sun was just beginning to warm the horizon when the helicopter touched down at the Amboseli Wildlife Sanctuary. The light painted the savanna in golds and soft oranges, casting long shadows across the tall grass. A breeze rolled through the trees, carrying the scent of earth, life, and rain yet to come. Emma stepped out slowly, boots hitting the dirt with a soft thud. Her muscles ached. Her clothes were stained with sweat and dust. But her heart was steady. Raj followed close behind, shielding his eyes as the rotors slowed to a whisper. Between them, cradled in thick blankets and watched over by two rangers, Leo stirred. The cub had been quiet during the flight. Nestled between Emma's knees, body pressed low and safe. But now, as the wind shifted and the sense of home reached his nose, he lifted his head. The rangers opened the gate to the quarantine pen. Just outside the main sanctuary enclosure, they set Leo gently onto the soft soil. He stood on wobbly legs, stronger than ever before, but still uncertain. His ears twitched. He sniffed the air. Then he froze. From the far side of the pen, another sound carried across the grass, a low, distant rumble. It grew louder. Then, from the trees, she appeared, a lioness, broad-shouldered, powerful, her gait cautious but quick. She approached the fence slowly, golden eyes scanning the scene until they landed on the cub. Leo stood still as stone. The lioness stopped just beyond the barrier, staring at him. A beat passed, 2, then 3, and then, she chuffed. It was soft, almost breathless, a sound like a question. Leo's tail twitched. He answered with a low cry, his voice rasping, but unmistakably familiar. The lioness moved faster now, pacing along the inside of the enclosure. A ranger at the rear nodded and unlatched the gate that separated them. It swung open. Leo took a hesitant step forward. Then another. Then he ran. The lioness lowered her head as he collided with her chest. She nudged him with her muzzle, sniffed furiously along his back, his ears, his flanks, checking every inch, as if to make sure he was real. Her entire body vibrated with sound. Emma felt her throat tighten. "Is that?" she asked quietly. Raj nodded. DNA confirmed. "That's Mara. She was found near the old Dari burn line. We thought she'd lost the entire litter." Emma looked on as Mara lay down and Leo pressed against her belly, rubbing his head into her chest. They didn't move for several minutes. Just mother and son, together again. Later, Emma stood at the edge of the enclosure with Raj beside her. The wind was calmer now. The sanctuary buzzed gently with life, birds calling, hooves in the distance, the quiet hum of something good having ended well. Raj was the first to speak. "Not many people get to see something like that." Emma folded her arms, watching the two lions nestled together in the grass. "Not many get the chance to make it happen. You saved his life. Twice. We saved him," she said. He smiled. "Fair." They stood in silence for a while, watching as Mara and Leo dozed in the afternoon sun. The cub had stopped growling at everyone, stopped pacing. He was calm now, whole. Raj glanced at Emma's bag, hanging at her side. "You still carry that thing?" She pulled out the leather-bound notebook. Dog-eared and worn. "Always." He tilted his head. "You going to write about this?" She opened to a blank page and ran her fingers across it. Then looked toward the enclosure again. Her pen moved slowly at first, then quicker, more confidently. When she was finished, She read the last line aloud, almost under her breath. Sometimes, love comes from the most unexpected places, like under the hood of an old, broken-down truck. Raj laughed softly. That's going in a book someday. Maybe, Emma said, but for now, it's just for me. As the sky shifted into the bruised blues of dusk, Emma walked to the truck parked under the shade of a wide acacia tree. She leaned against the fender, running a hand along the metal, dented, dusty, but still holding together. Raj joined her a moment later. You heading back to town? Eventually, she said. Might stick around a bit first. Help the team set up the new rehab enclosure. He nodded. Good, we could use someone who knows her way around an engine. She smiled. And a lion cub. That too. He paused, then added, you know, it's funny. What is? How it all started. You heard a noise in an abandoned car. Could have ignored it. Could have walked away. Emma's eyes drifted to the horizon. Yeah, but I didn't. No, you didn't. That night, in her tent pitched near the sanctuary's edge. Emma opened the notebook again. The page from earlier sat at the top of her stack now. Beneath it, she began a new entry, short, steady handwriting, without flourish. They said nothing ever happened out here. Just dust and silence. But I've seen what hides in the quiet. A heartbeat under rust. A roar behind wire. A mother's cry that stretches across miles. I've seen it, and I won't forget. Leo came from under the hood of a dead truck. And now he sleeps beside the lioness who bore him. He is wild again, and I am different now. Maybe we both are. She closed the journal and looked toward the trees where a faint shape moved in the moonlight. Leo, playing in the grass beneath his mother's watchful gaze. Home at last.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.